the National Guard had a Helo crash. There was a National Guard Helo crash this week in New York, in upstate New York, where I'm actually from upstate New York. And 3 National Guardsmen were killed, unfortunately. So let's cover this story really quick for you guys, and we'll figure out what's going on here. Now, I get a little more spun up with a helicopter crash. I've lost friends in helicopter crashes. I know people listening in the chat have as well. I know Justin and I were in the same place at the same time when we found out we had lost some friends in a helicopter crash, and that was really hard. I still think about that all the time. It happened, the anniversary was recently. I think about it all the time. So remains of 3 National Guardsmen killed in New York helicopter crash recovered. The U.S. Army will lead the investigation into a helicopter crash that killed 3 National Guard members on a training exercise, the authorities said Thursday, after the remains of the troops were recovered from the rural upstate New York crash site. And there's a photo here on the screen of the crash site, and it looks like if what you're looking at here is the Helo after it crashed, there, and you're listening on the podcast, there's nothing left. It's a UH-60 Blackhawk. It's a, personnel. The mission of that Helo is to move personnel and supplies, and they were from maybe a medical unit, because they're described as a medical evacuation helicopter. But it's a pancake. The wreckage is a pancake. The only piece of the aircraft I can make out is the stabilator, and everything else is just there's nothing left. This is one of the worst aircraft Helo wreckage sites I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the whole thing is flattened. So Army aviation safety investigators were expected on scene by Friday morning, which is so that would be today. That's like today. This is an ongoing. This is a breaking story. So the UH-60 Blackhawk medical evacuation helicopter crashed in a farmer's field in rural Mendon, south of Rochester. This is like where I live. Like Rochester's in the same county where I grew up. Around 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, there were no survivors, which unfortunately with helicopter crashes have an extraordinarily high fatality rate. There are not many helicopter crashes where either there's no survivors or everyone survived. There's very few helicopter crashes in my memory and my knowledge of this where if the helicopter crash is bad enough where it caused fatalities, probably everyone died. And if the helicopter crash was like a hard landing or a controlled, impact or something like that, maybe everyone has a chance to survive. But helicopter crashes have a very high fatality rate, especially in the military. I mean, civilian life, a high-profile one this year was Kobe Bryant helicopter crash, right? So I always hated getting in helicopters, and I worked on helicopters, and I hated working on helicopters. I mean, the pressure of thinking that everything you do on a helicopter or on an aircraft could put the crew's life at risk. Every inspection you do, every piece of maintenance you do, the crew and the passengers in that helicopter trust, their lives with your work. And I never took that lightly, and I don't think anyone does. Well, maybe some people do. They gun deck their inspections or whatever, armchair CDI, but if you know what I'm talking about, then I don't have time to probably explain the whole thing right now, but it's extraordinarily high risk helicopter operations, and there's very little ability to glide in a helicopter or have a controlled landing if you have lost power or lost tail rotor or something like that. Helicopters are extraordinarily dangerous. So witnesses who called 911 reported hearing the sounds of an engine sputtering and said the helicopter was flying very low. Photos from the scene showed the wreckage in flames on a snow-covered field, so it burnt up. It sounds like maybe an engine failure in that case, but there are 2 engines on 60s, and so I'm not sure what happened here. Like I said, there will be a whole investigation, and it might take years to find out what happened. On Thursday, first responders and residents lined roadways as the victims were driven from the crash site to the Monroe County Medical Examiner's Office, escorted by police and fire vehicles. The victims' names were not released. Community members came out of their homes. They stood on the side of the road with flags, saluting. Said Fowler, who retired from the National Guard in May after 30 years. It was just a very touching and honorable time for this unfortunate event. Yeah, that's sad. That's sad. This is breaking news. This happened this evening in New York, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's very dangerous. Military aviation is very dangerous, and it's very brave of so many people to get into those helicopters and get on those aircraft every day, thousands of times, thousands of flight hours. We've seen people who've been in crashes, they get back in, they keep flying. Pilots who've been in crashes keep flying. Justin says, I always appreciated the maintenance on the bridge and the care and knowledge everyone put into it and shared. My second deployment, not so much. Oh, wow, really? Your second deployment, not so much on the bottom Richard, I'm guessing? That's crazy. That's unfortunate. On the bridge, on that deployment, we were a very tight-knit crew, and we had just lost a crew too, right? So I think the fact that we had just lost a crew on another aircraft, on another ship, right at the beginning of our deployment, kind of put a different sense of responsibility into all of us who were on that deployment, It really changed my outlook as a junior, brand new aviation maintainer, to then lose a crew like that, who we knew, the craziness surrounding that situation, really changed it affected my whole life from that point forward on how I looked at things that I did in the military. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching that clip from our live show. We're live right here on YouTube, Sunday through Thursday, 1800 Pacific Standard Time. If you want, come on by, join the chat. I'd love to hear from you. If you like that video and you want to see more, consider checking out this video right here or subscribing to the channel with this button right here. I look forward to talking to you really soon. I'm out for now.